The research station moved in its slow path above the blue curve of Earth. On the night shift, most people were tired and quiet. Screens glowed, fans hummed, and the stars outside looked still and calm. Ethan sat at his console and fought a yawn. He was a young technician with short brown hair and tired eyes. He watched lines of numbers scroll down his display. Most nights, nothing strange happened. He checked sensor logs, wrote short reports, and drank bad coffee. He tapped one finger on the desk, waiting for the next scan to finish. Outside the window, the planet turned like a giant marble, white clouds drifting over deep blue oceans. Ethan loved that view. It always reminded him why he had chosen this job. He wanted to be close to space, even if it meant boring nights. Then his console beeped. Ethan blinked and leaned forward. The beep was not the normal cycle sound. It was sharper, more urgent. "That is new," he said softly. He opened the alert window. The station's long-range sensors had picked up something at the edge of Earth orbit. The object was small, moving slowly, and did not match any known satellite path. Ethan frowned. He checked the database. No match. He checked again. Still no match. He felt a small chill in his chest. "Station Control, this is Ethan at Sensor Deck 3, he said into his headset. "I have an unknown object in high orbit. It is not in our registry." A calm voice answered him. "Copy that, Ethan. Hold on." For a moment, all he could hear was his own breathing and the soft hum of the station. Then another voice came on, firm and clear. "Ethan, this is Karen. Send the data to my console." Karen was his supervisor. She had dark hair tied back and sharp, watchful eyes. She was not the kind of person who scared easily. "Sending now," Ethan said. He sent the sensor data to her console. Then he opened a visual feed. The object was just a small dot against the black, but the computer added details. It was a ship, that much was clear. Not a rock, not debris. The shape looked wrong for any human design. Ethan swallowed. "Karen," he said, "it looks like a ship, but it is not one of ours." "I see it," Karen answered. "The drive signature is unknown. Power output is low. Life support readings are weak. We might have survivors on board." Ethan stared at the readings. The ship was drifting. Its engines were almost dead. The hull showed signs of damage and scorch marks. "Do you think it is alien?" Ethan asked. "We cannot be sure yet," Karen said. "But it matches none of our models, and the Alliance registry is coming up empty too. Keep watching it. I am calling the Council liaison." The idea of an alien ship hanging above Earth made Ethan's heart beat faster. He had read about human contact with the wider galaxy. He knew about the alliance that claimed to keep order among many worlds. But Earth was still a small player, still watched and judged by stronger powers. If this was really an alien ship and it was in trouble, then this night would not be quiet at all. Time seemed to slow as the object came closer, still moving weakly. The sensors showed leaking air, overheating systems, and failing shields. It looked like a dying thing. Karen came down to the sensor deck not long after. She walked up to Ethan's console and stood beside him. "Any change?" she asked. "Life signs are still there, but very faint," Ethan said. "If that is a crew, they do not have long." Karen looked at the screen. Her jaw was tight. "The United Earth Council is on a secure link," she said. "They want us to study the ship, but they are not ready to announce anything. They want more information first." Ethan turned his chair and looked at her. "We cannot just watch them die while we gather information." "I know," Karen said softly. "But I have to follow orders, at least for now." Ethan lowered his eyes but did not argue. He knew she was in a hard position. Still, it hurt to sit there and watch the slow fall of the unknown ship. Minutes passed. Alarms flashed again. "Power levels dropping further," Ethan said. "Their life support is failing. If we do not act, They will be dead soon. Karen stared at the display. Then she put a hand on his shoulder. Prepare a detailed scan, she said. Give me everything, hull layout, airlocks, any sign of weapons. If there is no clear threat, we will argue for a rescue mission. Ethan nodded quickly and began to work. His fingers moved over the controls, calling up scan after scan. The ship's outer hull was cracked in several places. There were burns along one side, as if it had been shot by high-energy weapons. He saw small compartments, tangled corridors, and what looked like a central chamber with a thicker shell. That chamber still had some power and some air. There, Ethan said, pointing. This is where the life signs are. Maybe a dozen, maybe more. I cannot tell exactly, but they are weak. Karen leaned closer. No sign of active weapons, she said. No sign of defensive fields. They are in no state to fight. Her headset buzzed. She walked a few steps away to take the call. Ethan could not hear the words, but he saw her face. She looked tense. When she came back, her eyes were firm. The council wants more time, she said. They are worried this might be a trap or some kind of test from the Alliance. They do not want to rush in. Ethan shook his head. If we wait, those people will die. Karen looked at the ship again. Sometimes, she said slowly, we do not have the luxury to wait until everyone is comfortable. She took a deep breath. I am authorizing a small boarding team, she said. We will call it a sensor calibration mission in the report. Official approval can come after we know what we are dealing with. Ethan stared at her. You mean we are going now? Yes, Karen said. And you are going with them. You know the layout best. You found them. Ethan's mouth went dry. He had trained for boardings, but this was different. This was first contact, or something close to it. Still, he heard himself say, Understood. Within an hour, a small shuttle detached from the research station. Ethan sat strapped into his seat, his hands tight around the harness. Beside him sat Commander Lewis, a tall man with short gray hair and a calm voice. Breathe, Ethan, Lewis said. You will be fine. Stick to the plan. Yes, sir, Ethan said. The shuttle moved closer to the damaged ship. The alien hull looked scarred and broken. Panels hung loose. Small lights flickered. The ship did not send any messages. It just drifted like a wounded animal. This does not look like a trap, one of the security officers muttered. Ethan said nothing. He could hear his own heartbeat. They matched speed with the alien ship and moved alongside a damaged section. The shuttle's docking clamps reached out and locked onto a stable part of the hull. Atmosphere seals engaged with a soft thump. We have a seal, Lewis said, opening the hatch. The inner door slid open with a hiss. A faint, strange smell drifted in. It was metallic and sharp, not like any normal air Ethan knew. They stepped through into a dim corridor. The walls were made of a dark, smooth material with faint patterns that glowed weakly. Some lights flickered, others were dead. Wires hung loose from the ceiling. Ethan's suit translation badge tried to read any local signals, but there was only static. Watch your step, Lewis said quietly. Stay close. They moved slowly through the corridor. Ethan tried to remember the map he had seen from the scans. They needed to reach the central chamber, the one that still had some power and air. As they walked, they passed open doors. Inside, Ethan saw small rooms with strange furniture, cracked screens, and spilled containers. Once, he saw a smear of dark, dried fluid along the wall. This ship had seen violence. Over here, Ethan said, checking his wrist display. The central chamber should be just ahead. They reached a thicker door that was slightly open. Dim light spilled through the gap. Lewis raised a hand and the team paused. We do this slow, he said. We do not know who is inside or what state they are in. He pushed the door carefully. It slid open with a tired groan. Inside, the chamber was crowded. Strange equipment lined the walls. The air was thin but still present. And in the center, behind a set of makeshift barriers made from broken panels, a group of figures huddled together. They were smaller than humans, with long arms and large dark eyes. Their skin tones ranged from pale gray to soft blue. Some wore torn clothing that seemed to have once been neat uniforms. Others were wrapped in blankets or bits of fabric. They flinched when the door opened. A few raised small tools or broken metal rods like weapons. One figure stepped in front of the others, trying to shield them. Ethan's heart tightened. He could see fear in their eyes. They looked exhausted, thin, and sick. Commander Lewis held up both hands, palms out, in a universal sign of peace. "We are from Earth," he said slowly. "We are here to help." Of course, they would not understand his language. But tone and body language still mattered. He kept his voice gentle, his hands open. The figure in front of the group stared at him. She seemed slightly taller than the others, with a ridge of faint glowing marks along her temples. After a moment, she reached to a small device at her throat and pressed it. A soft hum filled the air. Then, to Ethan's surprise, a rough but understandable voice came out in his own language. "You are human," the device said in a calm, tired female voice. "This world is called Earth. Yes." The figure pressed the device again. The same voice spoke in different musical sounds he did not know. The other aliens nodded slowly. The leader looked at Lewis again. Her dark eyes were filled with both fear and hope. "We need help," the device said through her touch. "Please. We are cast out. We have nowhere else to go." Ethan stepped forward a little, ignoring his own fear. "My name is Ethan," he said. "This is Commander Lewis. We saw your ship was in trouble. We brought a shuttle. We can take some of you to our station, give you medical care." The leader listened, then pressed the device. "I am Lyra," the translator said. "These are my people. The galaxy cast us out. They hunt us. If you call the Alliance, they will take us and kill us." Her eyes shone with tears that did not fall. Her hands shook. "Please do not send us back," the device said. "We just want a place to live, a place where our children are not chased like animals." Ethan looked at the others behind her. There were older ones, young ones, maybe even children. He could not be sure. One small figure leaned against another, breathing in short, weak gasps. He felt anger stir in his chest. Whoever had done this to them, whoever had hunted them, had chosen coward's work. "We will not hand you over," Ethan said, his voice firm. "Not while you are in our care." Commander Lewis glanced at him, then gave a small nod. He seemed to agree. "We can only take a limited number in each shuttle," Lewis said. "We will start with your most injured. We will come back for the others. Our station has medical staff ready." Lyra pressed her device again. "You would do this for strangers," the translator said. "Your world is young. Your people are not part of the High Council. Why risk this?" Ethan thought for a moment. "Because you are not just data on a screen," he said quietly. "You are people. And if we leave you here, you will die. That is reason enough." For a long second, Lyra said nothing. Then she lowered her head. "Thank you," the translator said. "We do not have much to offer. We can only give you our trust." The boarding team moved carefully, helping the weakest refugees stand. They handed out emergency masks and supportive harnesses. One of the aliens collapsed, and Ethan caught them, surprised by how light they felt. "Easy," he said softly. "We have you." As they made their way back through the damaged corridors, Ethan glanced back at the central chamber. Lyra stood there, watching, her eyes following every motion. Behind her, the others began to move, slowly, as if waking from a long nightmare. Back on the shuttle, the air felt thick and safe. The refugees sank into seats or lay on the floor, too tired to speak, but their eyes showed a thin line of hope. Ethan sat near one of them, a younger alien with faint blue skin who stared at the floor. "You are going to be okay," Ethan said. "We are taking you to our station. We have doctors. We have real beds." The alien looked up, confused, but Ethan smiled anyway. He knew a smile did not need translation. As the shuttle pulled away from the broken ship, he looked out the small window. The alien vessel floated alone in the dark, still and silent. "We will come back for the others," Ethan whispered to himself. "We are not done yet." On the station, Karen watched the shuttle approach. She stood in the docking bay with a team of medical staff, all in clean suits, ready to move. Her face was tight, but her eyes showed a strange mix of worry and pride. "You did the right thing, Ethan," she said later, when he stepped off the shuttle, tired and shaking. "We do not know that yet," he answered. "The Council might say we broke protocol. The Alliance might be angry." Karen looked through the glass wall at the group of aliens lying on medical beds as doctors checked their vitals. Lyra sat upright, hooked to monitors, watching everything with wide, careful eyes. "Maybe," Karen said, "but sometimes the right thing is not the safe thing. Tonight we chose not to let them die alone in the dark." Ethan followed her gaze. He saw Lily, the station's lead nurse, gently wrap a blanket around one of the smaller aliens. Lily spoke softly, even though she knew they did not understand her words. Something warm slowly spread in Ethan's chest. The galaxy might have cast these people out, but for now, on this small human station above a blue world, they were not alone. And somewhere inside him, Ethan felt that this decision would change more than just one night. It might change how the galaxy saw humanity, and more important, it might change how humanity saw itself. The shuttle carrying the alien refugees touched down gently on a quiet stretch of Earth near the coast. The landing was smooth, but for Ethan, every bump and shift in the cabin made his stomach tighten. The aliens were exhausted. Many of them were pale or weak from the long journey and injuries sustained on their ship. The youngest, a small figure with soft blue skin, lay curled in a seat, breathing shallowly. Ethan kept his hand near, ready to help if needed. The humans waiting on the ground had already set up a temporary medical zone. Tents lined with lights and machines looked alien to the newcomers. Earth's doctors and nurses moved with calm purpose. One of them, Lily, a gentlewoman with brown hair tied in a bun, stepped forward to greet the refugees. She spoke softly, keeping her voice low and soothing, even though the aliens did not understand all her words. "We will take care of you," Lily said, smiling. She gestured to the medical beds arranged in neat rows. "Please, rest here." Lyra, the leader, watched carefully from the shuttle ramp. Her eyes, large and dark, scanned the humans. She could not read their language fully, but she sensed their intentions from tone and body movement. Ethan stepped beside her. "They are good people," he said quietly. "You can trust them." Lyra nodded slowly. She pressed the small device at her throat. A soft hum came, and the machine translated her thoughts into speech. "We do not know your world. It is strange. It is calm." "Earth is not perfect," Ethan admitted. "But we do not hunt those who need help." The aliens were guided gently into the medical area. Doctors checked their vital signs, cleaned wounds, and gave water. Many of the humans had never seen creatures like these before. Some of the younger doctors exchanged curious glances, while others moved forward with quiet care, showing the aliens kindness without expecting anything in return. Ryan, a young alien with pale gray skin, watched everything silently. He was small and fragile, but his eyes were sharp and curious. As Ethan helped him onto a medical bed, a human teenager named Josh slipped quietly into the area, carrying a small bundle. I brought some things," Josh said, his voice nervous. He laid down comic books and a few drawings he had made. Ryan tilted his head, staring at the bright colors. "What are these?" the translator device asked in Ryan's voice. Stories, Josh said. Heroes, adventures, people doing good things. Ryan blinked, then slowly reached for one of the books. He flipped it open, scanning the pictures. A small smile appeared on his face. It was the first sign of happiness since their journey began. Meanwhile, Lyra spoke with Ethan in a quiet corner of the medical tent. The translator device converted her words to simple English. "We thought we would die," she said. "The galaxy cast us out. Our people were hunted, some were taken, some disappeared. We thought no world would help." Ethan nodded. "You are safe now, at least for a while. The humans here will not hand you over to anyone." "Why?" she asked, her dark eyes wide. "We are strangers. You do not know us." "Why help us?" Ethan thought for a moment. "Because we were once strangers too. Because we know fear, and we know what it is to be ignored. Some things are more important than fear of others. Helping is one of them." Lyra pressed her hands together, a gesture of respect in her culture. Ethan could see relief and gratitude mix with her exhaustion. As the aliens rested, Ethan began to organize a plan. Not all the refugees could stay in the same medical tents for long. Some were stronger, and others needed long-term care. They needed identification, records, and safe places to go if the Human Council decided that aliens could not remain openly. "We have to plan," Ethan told Lyra. "Some of your people need long-term shelter. We cannot risk the Alliance finding you here." Lyra nodded, understanding immediately. "We have few options," she said. "We trusted your world. We cannot move freely. We are weak." Ethan took a deep breath. "We will find a way. Some of you will stay here. Others will go to secret habitats, safe places humans have prepared. We will protect you as best we can." While Ethan spoke with Lyra, the younger aliens began to explore the medical tent slowly. Ryan sat next to Josh and pointed at a cartoon of a human jumping over rooftops. Josh laughed. "That is called parkour," he said. "It's like a game, see?" Ryan's translator converted the words, and he tried to repeat the sounds. The attempt sounded funny, and both of them laughed together. For the first time, fear seemed distant. Other aliens wandered carefully, touching walls and machines. Some had injuries that limited movement. A few older aliens sat silently, watching everything with wary eyes. They were not used to kindness and wondered if this was a trap. Ethan and Lily spent hours walking among them, answering questions and explaining as best they could, even though much had to be shown rather than spoken. As the night deepened, Ethan returned to Lyra and spoke quietly. "We will do more tomorrow. You need rest now. Medical staff will stay with you." Lyra looked out the window toward the dark horizon. She could see the ocean, the distant city lights, and the stars. She pressed her device. "Thank you, Ethan," the machine said. "We have no gifts, no words, only trust, only hope." "Hope is enough," Ethan said. The next morning, the sun rose gently over the coast. Light filled the medical area, casting warm shadows across pale blue and gray skin. The aliens were slowly waking. Some stretched, others sat up and looked around. Human doctors and nurses moved quietly, checking each one. Josh came early, carrying a small basket of fruit. Ryan smiled and reached for it, learning quickly that food could be shared. Ethan noticed a small bond forming between human and alien. The children and teenagers would make the first friendships. Trust would follow slowly among the adults. Karen arrived at the site mid-morning. She walked among the tents, asking questions, listening and observing. Her presence calmed the human staff and reassured the aliens that leadership cared. She stopped beside Ethan, watching a small alien carefully eat an orange slice. "They are learning fast," Ethan said. "Humans are patient," Karen replied. "That helps." Later, in a private area, Ethan and Lyra spoke again. She described her people's exile. "We refused a war," she said. "The Alliance wanted us to fight another species. We said no. They said we are traitors. They cast us out, destroyed our planets, hunted our ships. We had no place to go." Ethan listened quietly, anger simmering. "That is cruel," he said. "They should not have done this. No one should." "Galaxy judges without mercy," Lyra said. "But your world, your people, you show mercy. That is strange." "Maybe it is time for something different," Ethan said softly. "Maybe humans can do what the galaxy will not. Maybe we can choose to protect instead of destroy." The morning passed into afternoon. Volunteers brought water, blankets, and medicines. The aliens learned quickly how to drink and eat human food. They began to understand that they were not being tested or tricked. The fear slowly lifted, replaced by cautious hope. Ryan and Josh played a small game, tossing a ball carefully. Laughter, simple and light, echoed in the tents. Other aliens watched, unsure at first, then some tried joining. The sound surprised Ethan, but he smiled. It was a sound he had not expected to hear in weeks. It was a sign that trust could grow. As the day ended, Ethan gathered the stronger aliens for a short meeting. He explained, using simple gestures and the translator device, that some of them would go to more permanent shelters on the moon and in orbit. The weaker and sick would remain in Earth's medical care. Lyra listened carefully. She nodded. "We follow your plan," she said through the translator. "We trust you." Ethan felt the weight of responsibility. These were not just aliens. These were lives that depended on human judgment and care. He knew the galaxy might be watching, that some powerful voices would complain, but for now, he had to focus on the small victories, on the simple act of keeping people alive. As night fell, the aliens slept under human care. Ethan walked among them, checking monitors and systems. He stopped near Rian, who held a small drawing Josh had given him. The alien's eyes reflected the soft glow of the lamp. "You are safe," Ethan whispered. "You can rest." Lyra watched from across the tent, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. She pressed her device, speaking softly. "We have found a place that does not hate us. We are alive. This is more than hope. This is life." Ethan nodded. He looked out the tent flap toward the ocean and the darkening sky. The stars were still out, small and distant, but somehow brighter now. The galaxy may have cast them out, but humanity had taken them in. And on that quiet night, for the first time in a long time, Lyra and her people could breathe without fear. Humanity had offered them safety, and in return the humans were learning the value of courage, mercy, and trust. The night was long, but it was gentle. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new fears, and new lessons. But for now, Earth had opened its arms to those who had nowhere else to go. Weeks passed since the alien refugees arrived on Earth. Slowly, life began to settle into a quiet rhythm. The aliens rested and recovered, learning the simplest of human habits: how to eat with utensils, how to wash, how to sleep without fear. Ethan and Lyra spent hours together each day, learning more about each other's worlds. Ryan and Josh became inseparable. The two laughed, played, and shared stories, bridging the gap between species with games, drawings, and simple words. Their laughter filled the medical tents and brought a lightness to a place that had been heavy with fear. But as life continued, a new tension rose in the skies above. Sensors on the research station detected a massive vessel entering the outer reaches of the solar system. The readings were unmistakable. It was a cruiser from the Galactic Alliance, large and powerful, with engines glowing and weapon systems active. Ethan stared at the screens in disbelief. "They are here," he said quietly. Karen, who had been overseeing the recovery operations, turned from her console. Her face was tight. "They must have noticed the refugees." This is not just a visit. The cruiser sent a formal communication to Earth. The message was polite but firm. Ambassador Sealer, a human-like figure with smooth gray skin and sharp eyes, addressed Earth's leaders through secure channels. He requested a diplomatic meeting and inspection of all human stations and facilities related to alien activity. Ethan's stomach tightened. He had expected some scrutiny, but this was more than scrutiny. It was a warning. The Alliance did not tolerate disobedience lightly. In a private briefing, Karen, Ethan, and several high-ranking officers gathered to discuss the cruiser's arrival. Military reports showed that the ship was fully armed, carrying patrol squads and scanning technology that could detect even hidden habitats. "They are here for the refugees," Karen said. "We have no doubt." A general leaned forward. "Our defenses are small. If they decide to act, we cannot fight them directly. We need a plan." Ethan shook his head. "We cannot just hand them over. They trusted us. We saved their lives. We cannot betray them." Karen looked at him, her eyes serious. "I know. That is why this will be delicate. We need diplomacy, patience, and caution. But we also need to be ready to protect everyone if they act aggressively." The meeting ended with a plan to prepare for both outcomes. Some of the aliens would remain in secure medical facilities, while others would be moved to hidden shelters in the moon's caves and orbital habitats. Humans would stand ready to protect them. The day of the official meeting arrived. Ambassador Sealer traveled to the orbital station under the guise of diplomacy. He was calm and polite, his gray eyes watching every movement. Ethan and Karen met him with measured smiles, leading him to a conference room with a wide window that looked out into space. "Welcome to Earth Station," Karen said smoothly. "We are glad to host you." Sellers' thin lips curved slightly. "Thank you. I have heard much about your hospitality, Earth. I am here to ensure cooperation and understanding between our worlds." Ethan's mind raced. He watched the ambassador carefully, noting the polite tone that masked subtle threats. Seller began to speak about the alliance, emphasizing order, loyalty, and unity. He referred to the exiled species indirectly, calling them unstable elements that could bring chaos if protected by other worlds. "Have you encountered any of these groups in your sector?" Sealer asked. His voice soft but precise. Ethan's chest tightened. He glanced at Karen. She met his eyes and nodded ever so slightly. Ethan spoke cautiously. "We provide humanitarian aid to those in distress. We follow our own protocols and laws." Sailor's eyes narrowed, just a fraction. "Humanity is still young," he said, "but every action has consequences. Harboring fugitives can be seen as defiance. The Council may not overlook it." The room grew tense. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. One wrong word could endanger the refugees he had come to care for. "We do not make enemies lightly," Karen replied evenly. "Earth chooses to protect lives, not to pursue conquest. The lives we protect are under our care and jurisdiction." Sealer tilted his head, studying her. "Very well," he said slowly. "But know this. The Council's patience is not infinite. Your world may face pressure, sanctions, or worse. The choice you make now will define your standing in the galaxy." After the meeting, Ethan and Karen discussed contingency plans. "They are testing us," Karen said. "They want to see if we will break. If we do, they can justify action." "So we do not break," Ethan replied. "We hide, we protect, and we wait. But what if they come anyway?" "Then we defend," Karen said simply. "We cannot risk innocent lives. The refugees trust us. That trust is more important than fear." Lyra gathered her people that evening. She pressed her device, translating her words. "They are strong, but dangerous. Your world has humans who protect. We must trust them. We have nowhere else to go." Ryan looked at the window, seeing the distant cruiser glow in space. He pressed his hands together, unsure. "We might be hunted again," he whispered. "Not while we are here," Ethan said firmly. "We will do everything we can. You are safe for now." As days passed, Alliance drones began to appear near Earth's orbit. Small and fast, they moved silently, scanning for signals, checking for hidden transmissions. The humans monitored every move, adjusting their shelters and communication lines. Every precaution was taken to ensure the aliens remained unseen. In secret, Ethan and Karen coordinated the relocation of some refugees to orbital habitats. The moon's caves offered deep protection, and older asteroid stations had been prepped for hidden living. Small shuttles transported aliens carefully at night, avoiding sensors and patrols. Rian held Josh's hand tightly during one trip. "What happens if they find us?" he asked. "They won't," Josh said, trying to sound confident. "Humans are smart. We have a plan. We will protect you." Rian nodded slowly, trusting the words even as fear lingered. Back at the station, Lyra watched as humans moved among her people, carrying supplies, checking health, and offering simple words of reassurance. She realized the strength of humanity was not in ships or weapons, but in courage and compassion. It was quiet, steadfast, and difficult to measure. Ethan spent long hours coordinating with Karen and other officers. They ran simulations of potential conflict, prepared evacuation routes, and monitored Alliance communications. Each night he returned to the medical tents, checking on the refugees. Some slept, some whispered among themselves, and some, like Ryan, played small games that reminded them of childhood. One evening, Ethan spoke with Lyra privately. "They are testing us," he said. "We cannot fight them openly. We have to be clever, patient, and protective." Lyra nodded. "We will trust you. We have no other choice. And we will not fail," Ethan said firmly. "Not while they are here." The tension in orbit continued for days. Alliance patrols lingered, scanning, measuring, observing. The humans avoided confrontation but did not back down. Their actions were careful, calculated, and visible to the aliens as a form of protection. In the medical tents, the aliens began to settle. Routines formed. Ryan and Josh continued their games. Others began to ask questions about humans, their habits, and their world. Simple words were shared. Laughter, cautious and soft, filled the air. The bond between human and alien grew quietly. Ethan watched as small acts of care, sharing water, adjusting blankets, offering words of comfort, built trust that no weapon could break. One night, Lyra pressed her device again. "Your world is strange," she said softly. "So many risks you take for strangers." "Why?" Ethan thought for a moment. "Because it is right," he said. "Because we know what it is to be helpless, and we cannot ignore others' suffering. Sometimes doing the right thing is not easy. Sometimes it is dangerous. But it is still the right thing." Lyra looked out the window at the stars, thinking of the worlds that had cast her people out. She felt a mixture of relief, hope, and determination. "Perhaps your world can be different," she said. "Perhaps humans can show the galaxy a new path." As the night grew deep, the humans and aliens prepared for the next phase. Careful monitoring, relocation, and continued protection. Ethan knew challenges lay ahead. The Alliance was powerful, clever, and relentless. But humanity had something the Alliance could not predict: courage, compassion, and a refusal to abandon the weak. And in the quiet moments, as he checked monitors and spoke softly to the recovering aliens, Ethan realized that this was more than a rescue. It was a statement. Earth was drawing a line in the stars, saying that life, hope, and trust mattered more than fear or obedience. The galaxy may have watched closely, but humanity was learning to stand not as a follower, but as a protector,